Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Michelle. I have some exciting stuff for all you seafood lovers today. We are going to be making crab cakes, pan sauteed and broiled. We are going to be making stuffed lobster. It's kind of like lobster thermidor, but I wanted to make it my own, so I changed a few of the ingredients up. So we're going to call it stuffed lobster. So we got our lump crab meat. We got our lobster tail. Now the recipe does call for a whole lobster, but you know, I changed it because I'm sorry y'all. Big whole lobster, yeah, the way I had it was a whole lobster. So that's why I thought I would go with that when I wrote the recipe. But yeah, I changed it to tail, so it was a lot easier for me to handle. So we're gonna start with our crab cake mixture. You're gonna take some plain breadcrumbs. This is actually a half recipe because I already made some because I wanted them to be sitting before I decided to saute them. So this is a half recipe. So this is a half a cup of breadcrumbs, some shallots, some mayo, that's about 2 tablespoons, 1 egg, beaten egg. I like to add peppers to mine. I like to add vegetables to everything. So I chopped up some finely chopped red peppers and green peppers, and then some honey Dijon mustard. It gives you crab lovers that taste of that mustard that some of y'all like to eat out the crabs. It's one thing I forgot to take out though, but I'm going to go get it right now. And that is a half a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Y'all like, that don't go in no crab cakes. Yes, it do. It goes in there. Now we're just going to mix our mixture up. Make sure everything is well mixed together. Your egg and your breadcrumbs is going to hold it together. And everything else is for flavor. And nobody makes their crab cakes the same. No restaurant you go to, every restaurant you go to sell crab cakes, they're all different. They all taste different. Because everybody uses a different recipe to make them. But this right here is my recipe. My family ain't complained yet, so I know they good. Because like I said, they like to eat. This is our crab cake mixture, all mixed up. And again, like I said, if you watch my video when I made the miniature meatballs, I have a texture thing with my hands. So I put on gloves to keep my hands clean, for one, if I'm cooking more than one thing, but also because of the texture. And this is going to make 3 crab cakes. And these crab cakes I'm going to use to go in the broiler. 3 large size crab cakes. Put that crab meat back in there. And you just roll them around in your hand till you get them to the proportion and size that you want them. So when I started this recipe, when I separated the crab meat, it was a 16-ounce, 1-pound can of wild-caught lump crab meat. And that's what you would need if you're making the whole recipe. And you can also make these small. I've made it into mini crab balls. So you can do a 3-ounce, a 4-ounce. You can broil them. You can pan sear them. You can deep fry them. Only thing I suggested if you deep fry them is you also make a breadcrumb mixture that's seasoned, and then you would take this, dip it in the egg mixture, and then dip it in the breadcrumbs that you make to deep fry. And always make sure your oil is hot, 375 degrees if you're going to deep fry. But it's still only going to take about 5 minutes because you got to remember, crab meat is always already cooked. Okay, guys, so I'm going to move all this into my trusty sink that holds all my dishes so I can clean up a little bit. I'm going to step out for a minute. So remember I said I was broiling some crab cakes and also pan searing some crab cakes. So my pot is getting hot. I put about 2 tablespoons of oil in the pan. You don't need a lot. It's just so the crab cakes don't stick. And they should almost be ready. Let's do a tester. So it's not hot yet. So we're going to start with our lobster. So I'm going to turn this pan on so it will heat up. And in this pan, oh, well, first let me tell you about the lobster. I started telling you, then I stopped. So the lobster, I boiled them in a pan with some salt and water. You want to put a generous amount of salt in your water for when you're boiling the lobsters. And then once they turn red, and I want to say about 5 to 6 minutes, let them boil in that water, take them out and put them in a cold bath because you want them to stop cooking. Because you never want your lobster to be rubbery or overcooked or dry. So I took them out, put them in some ice and ice water so they would cool down. Then once I did that, I cut the back shells off so I could have the whole shell to restuff with the stuffed lobster. And just put them in the refrigerator because I pre-did this so it would be ready. And then I chopped my lobster tail up, and this is what it is. 4 lobster tails made that. So we are going to start putting into this pan, the saucepan, our melted butter. Well, we're going to melt the butter. It's not melted yet. It's 2 tablespoons of butter. Into this pan, I'm going to add some shallots once the butter is melted. But since this pan is heated, we're going to add the crab cakes. And you're just going to sear them till they're brown on each side. You hear that sizzle? So we're just waiting for this to melt our butter. Our butter is all melted. We're going to add our shallots so they'll begin cooking. And this is just one good medium-sized shallot. It's just that I couldn't fit them all into my little containers into one container. So we're going to let these cook until they get a little translucent. Our crab cakes are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yep, nope, they're not ready to turn. And again, like I said, if you're handy and you like to handle live crabs or live lobsters, by all means, get that whole lobster body, because when you cut that lobster in half, it is actually a great presentation on the plate. Just to have that full lobster body, because you're still only going to have the claw meat and the tail meat. So for me, it was like, as my husband says, half a dozen, 60 other. So I just purchased the lobster tails. And you can get them any size you want them. If you want to make big ones, by all means, get those 2-pound lobster tails and fill them up. Buy you a 6-pound lobster, 10-pound lobster. Cook it up because it's so good. Then we're going to add to this. It says fish stock. I didn't have fish stock, but I boiled the lobsters, so I have lobster stock. It's a lobster dish, so we're going to add our lobster stock. We're going to add, our white wine. This is white cooking wine. For those of you that want to know, they do sell cooking wine, and this is white cooking wine. And you're going to add that to the pot, as well as your cream. This is heavy cream. It's just 1/4 of a cup. Okay, so we turned our crab cakes over, and they're getting nice and golden brown. Unfortunately, my eye's not cooking even, but it's still nice and crispy. I'll just flip that one back over to cook a little bit more on that little light skin side. But, you know, as there's this chef that I like to watch on TV, and she always says brown food tastes good. So, yes. When you're searing food, you want it to be brown. And we're going to wait for this sauce to come up to a boil and cook to about half the amount. Didn't get all my cream out the cup. When you're using thick milks or creams, you want to make sure you get all of it out the cup because that is a part of your measurement. So while that is doing that, and while this is doing this and while this is cooking, your oven broiler is already preheating because neither one of these take long in the broiler. So that's why we're able to put them both on the same pan. And you won't need to turn your crab cake either. But this will be done and nice and tasty. Sorry. Yes, this will be done soon, nice and tasty. This is still bubbling. And we will get the rest of our ingredients in there once it's simmered, once it's cooked halfway down. And the reason why I tell you, like I said, you don't want to make sure your lobster is well done when you're boiling it because it's still going to cook more once you add it to your sauce, and then once you put it into your shell and it goes in the broiler, it's going to cook more. So that's why you don't want to cook it well done. So let me grab a plate for our crab cakes because as you can see, they really don't take a long time. Again, the crab meat is cooked. You're just making sure the egg that you put in here is cooked. The vegetables that you add in there is cooked. And your onions and your crab cakes will be done soon. So we're going to take our crab cakes out of the pan because they are browned on both sides now. I'm going to place them on this platter that I have done. I'm going to plate everything seafood on this one plate. So we'll have our pan-seared crab cakes, and I'm going to let that one cook just a little bit more. This one decided to break. And let me watch this. Yep, we still got a little bit more simmering to do. So, this stuffed lobster, the first place I've ever had it, believe it or not, was on a flight, an airplane ride overseas. They served it on the airplane. It was so good when I tell you. I had never heard of it before, never saw it before. I had to take a picture of it and remember it because it was so good. It really was. It was just delicious. And me and my husband both was like, "You ever had this?" I said, "No, I never had this." He was like, "You ever heard of it?" I said, "I think I've heard of it, but never seen it before." So yeah, it was just very, very tasty. So now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients to this pot. We're going to take this crab cake out. It should be brown all over. Yes, it is. And place it right with the other pan seared. Its eye is off. And now we will focus on our stuffed lobster sauce. Now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Our garlic. Our mustard. Our lemon juice. And our parsley. Doesn't want to come out. We got it. There we go. So there we go. We're going to let this cook down a little bit more. And then we're going to add our lobster meat to it. So are you ready for some great tasting seafood that some of you may have never had? Some of you probably have heard of it. Some of you probably have had it. But it's new to us. And I hope you try the recipe. I hope you buy my cookbook and try recipes in there. Like I said, there's some 20 to 30 minute recipes, real quick one pan dishes. There will be cakes. If you don't know how to bake, you can learn how to bake. There'll be steps in there, measurements, what you should use for dry measurements, wet measurements. It'll be breakfast food. Now, and I'll tell you something about breakfast. I'm not big on breakfast because I don't like eggs. And eggs can be in anything because they cook and I can't see them. But if I see an egg, yeah, I'm not going to eat it. I'm just not going to eat it. I'm not a big egg fan. I could do without eggs. When I was little, my mom used to make me eat the eggs because she would cook us eggs every day. I would literally pour half the bottle of syrup on it to eat the eggs because I did not want those eggs. Unlike the story with Peas, because Peas was at dinner time and she would give me peas and tell me I couldn't leave the table till I ate them all. So I stuck them all in the inside of her table leg. I took every pea one by one and stuck them in that table leg until they was off my plate, and she said I could leave the table. I remember when we moved, she was saying, "What is that smell coming from this table?" When they was taking it apart, they turned the table leg upside down and all the dry peas just rolled out on the floor. It really was hilarious. She was mad at me. But peas is something I can't. I don't like them. If I order fried rice, I say take the peas out, take the eggs out. I don't want none of that stuff in mine. My kids make fun of me like, "Mom, that's how they cook the fried." Nah, they can cook fried rice without that stuff. They can put some green onions in there. They can stick some broccoli in there instead of those peas. That's just, nah, I can't do the peas. Can't not do the peas. I do not like them. You remember that book you used to read your kids? I do not like green eggs and ham. I don't like peas anywhere. I remember one of my daughters that's married to my son, this one holiday she cooked a pasta salad she made. And when she brought it up, she told me what she was making, and I was like, "Oh, okay, good." Then when she got to the house, I was like, "What is that there?" She was like, "Peas." I was like, "Who put peas in there?" She said, "Me and my family do." I said, "Nah, I'm sorry. I'm not eating none of that." She was like, "You're not eating none." She was like, "Mom." I was like, "Yeah, I can't do peas. I just can't do peas." I tried cooking them myself. I tried doctoring them up, put some onions in there, some garlic, and all kinds. I made it good pea. My kids was like, "Mom, these peas is really good. Taste them." Yeah, I tasted the peas, and yeah, it didn't work out. I won, and the peas didn't. I just don't like peas. So we're going to take our lobster meat and now pour it into the sauce. Just enough till it's heated. Just enough till it's heated. And it won't be long before it's heated. Because again, lobster, shrimp, crab, they cook really fast. So we're going to turn the heat off on this. Just let it sit for a little bit. And I'm going to grab a spoon so we can spoon it into the shell. And we're going to bring our crab over here. And we are going to stuff the lobster tails. Look how pretty they look. Oops, let's put you back on there. This one didn't get as much as the other one, so we're just gonna put some more in there. Because I took all of this out of here, it should fit back in there. I'm just gonna bring this over here. Now we have our Parmesan cheese, which goes over top. I'm actually going to take some more of the stock and just pour it over top. Before we put it in the oven. Okay, and in 5 to 8 minutes, we will have broiled crab cakes and stuffed lobster. And so now our crab cake and stuffed lobster are done. Look at that. Look at that, guys. This is one dish that you don't have to worry about taking a long time. I'm just gonna go to my trusty spoon holder and grab some tongs so we can move over to our serving plate. Get that piece of crab meat, lobster meat. Gotta fit all 4. Look at that. Will these lift with these? No. Let's see. Let me get a spatula. Pan is moving. And our broiled crab cakes. Yummy. Our seafood dinner is now served. They have a choice. They have pan-seared broiled crab cakes or stuffed lobster.